Okay, before I start with the statements, I just want to make you all aware that we have very limited information with regards to this recent investigation. I will most likely not be able to answer a lot of questions, so just letting you know ahead of time that there may not be a lot of answers I have for any of your questions. So the city is learning of the indictments that occurred today in the same manner that our residents, employees, and media have. The FBI and Department of Justice did not provide the city with any information concerning the indictments prior to arresting Roshawn Winburn, a current employee with our Human Relations Council, or Joey D. Williams, a former city commissioner. At this time, the city is unaware of any other bad actors affiliated with the organization. We are committed to fully cooperating and bringing to light all other bad actors that may exist. We have already reached out to the FBI and DOJ. The city commits and guarantees that a thorough investigation of our internal processes and employees will be conducted to expose any other corruption that may exist. Outside counsel has already been retained by the city's law department, and their investigation has already started. This will be a thorough process conducted by outside counsel to ensure that the investigation is conducted fairly and honestly. The city does not know all the facts and evidence that the FBI and the DOJ may have gathered concerning Joey Williams or Roshawn Winburn's time with the city. Joey D. Williams resigned his office as a commissioner of the City of Dayton effective on February 23rd, 2018. Joey Williams began working as the Dayton Market President and Commercial Banking Sales Leader for Key Bank. Roshawn Winburn has been placed on unpaid administrative leave. If any of our employees or public have any further information related to this matter, we are encouraging people to contact the FBI's Dayton Public Corruption Tip Line at 937-291-5222.
Shelley, can you tell us what you know about any other current city employees or former city leaders being questioned by federal investigators?
I don't have any knowledge about others being questioned by the FBI.
Do you have any information about...
Okay. If you want to watch the questions being asked, like I said, the video is up. News Center 7 WHIO put these two videos up, and I posted them over on Truman's Town Hall podcast. Something else I thought was very important to talk about on this podcast was the mayor and ward representative in the 2nd Ward, Don Webb, Mayor Jeff Gore and Councilman Don Webb put out statements that evening. So apparently there was talk on other social media pages. I don't know. I didn't see it on Brick City Town Hall. If you're not a member, try to join. But I didn't see any talk about corruption within the city of Heber Heights on Brick City Town Hall. So the mayor's statement read, "I almost let this go because it seems sometimes that no matter what myself or anyone else on council says, people are going to believe what they want to, but sometimes I can't just let misinformation go unanswered, especially when my colleagues or myself are being accused of corruption. The alleged bribery charges against Mr. Winburn are being used to insinuate that myself and current council members are corrupt as well because he served 1 year, not term, as a council member 10 years ago. I'm attaching for your viewing pleasure the code of ordinance that deal with the waiving of bidding requirements, the current contract under scrutiny is the contract for the traffic study cameras. He lists the company. I'm not going to read it here, but if you want to go to Mayor Jeff Gore's Facebook page, you can. The company has proprietary information because they've done work with our traffic signals in the past. So, Section 4 of the ordinance cover the waiving of the competitive bidding process. Not to mention they are an engineering firm which also is covered under professional services. The legislation that City Council passed is also attached. I hope this clears up the traffic study at least. Jeff. So that was Mayor Jeff Gore's statement from his Facebook page. Councilmember Don Webb, Ward 2 Council, Huber Heights, his Facebook page. There was a statement. It read, I've received several messages today from residents who are concerned about the WHIO article regarding the indictment of former Huber Heights Councilman Roshan Winburn and 3 others on corruption charges. Alleged corruption charges. He didn't write alleged, but I'm saying that because right now it's alleged. They've been charged, but they have not been convicted. Innocent until proven guilty. Anyway, the only connection any of this has to the city of Huber Heights is that Roshan Winburn was appointed to Huber Heights City Council in December of 2008, served 1 year, and lost re-election to council. The indictments he faces are from actions that occurred during his present employment with the City of Dayton. There are those on social media who are trying to allude to a connection between those charges and corruption, in quotes, in the city of Huber Heights. I find it very sad and that there are those who would make these types of comments, especially given that there is no basis whatsoever for making these false claims. Okay, so having read that, let us look at the charter. On the mayor's Facebook page, he posted ordinances, which are laws. Let's look at the charter, which is what governs. It's our Constitution. Okay, let's look at that. Okay, in Article 10 of the charter, Section 10.05, Purchasing and Contracting, Competitive Bidding. The manager shall award all contracts in manner consistent with Division 9 of Section 6.02 of this charter. Where competitive bidding is required pursuant to council's determination under Division B of this section, the contract shall be awarded to the lowest and best bidder. The council shall, by ordinance or resolution, provide for the circumstances under which competitive bidding shall be required, including but not limited to the amount of an expenditure to be made pursuant to a contract above which bidding shall be required, contractual expenditures which shall be exempted from competitive bidding requirements, and the procedures to be followed where bidding is required. The council may, by ordinance or resolution, exempt any specific contract or contractual expenditure from bidding requirements which would, under the city's general ordinance or resolutions, be subject to bidding. All other matters relating to contracting powers and procedures of the city under the council acts pursuant to Division B of this section. The general laws of Ohio shall apply with respect to the matters described in this Division B. And when it told us to go over to Section 6.02, Powers and Duties, it just describes the city manager shall be the chief executive and administrative officer of the city. The manager shall be responsible to council for administration of all city affairs placed in the manager's charge by the charter on the city's ordinance and resolutions or the general laws of Ohio. It shall be the responsibility of the manager to, and then it lists everything that they are responsible for. So if we're talking about the bidding process has been debated for years in the city of Huber Heights. As far as I'm concerned, and as far as I know, everything, even though we disagree on the policy is legal. In my opinion, accusing the city of Heber Heights of corruption is misguided. Now, could we find out later on down the road that there are things, and when the Justice Department talked about the Dayton area, something down the road may come up where, there are things in Heber Heights that we need to address, then that would be a shock to me, obviously. If there are those out there, and those statements that the mayor and Councilmember Webb posted, if there are those out there who truly feel that there's corruption in the city of Heber Heights, there was a number given. If you have evidence, if you have something to tell them, by all means, rewind or go back to where that press conference was heard here, take that number down and give them a call. Now, we could talk all day long about how we could adjust the bidding process, because in my opinion, and I've talked about this before, I've been steadfast on this issue since like 2014, 2015. More things should go out to bid. Waiving the bidding requirements just because you've done business with a certain company before, for me, is not how I like to see government operate. I believe more tax dollars could be saved if there were more bids, waiving of bidding. If there are other folks out who can provide the work, there are potential that you can save money. So I think with this case, a lot of local governments are going to take a look at what they can do to better facilitate their bidding process. They're going to check their law. Nobody wants to get caught up in that. So I think the local governments should, and I hope Heber Heights internally looks, are we doing everything right by the law? It appears they are. Should we adjust our bidding process? I hope that is a discussion that comes up. But anyway, I wanted to play that for you on this week's podcast. We didn't have a work session. We did not have a council meeting, so we get to talk about some other things, and I think we're going to do this a little more often. It's nice to look outside of Heber Heights and think of other topics to discuss and bring to you guys. I said I was going to incorporate the charter a little more. We did that today, and we'll continue to do that. Another thing that I wanted to incorporate is, are you looking to run for office? Okay, so this election season is locked down. You have 4 council seats up, and only one is contested, and that's the at-large seat. So you'll see that in November. The next election, and we should talk about the next election, you have 4 council seats, and the mayor's seat is up. If you're listening to this podcast, have you thought about running for city council? Maybe you have. If so, from now until then, little by little, I want to bring to you some ideas. I want to bring to you what it says in order for you to make a decision. First and foremost, you probably want to talk to your family and friends and ask them, is this a good idea for me, for us? Secondly, before you go out and buy yard signs and flyers, you'll want to know how best to get on the ballot. Section 4.03 in the charter, eligibility. Candidates for office of council member, mayor shall be qualified electors of the city at the time of filing their nomination petitions, shall have maintained their residency in the city at least 1 year immediately preceding the election, and shall maintain residency during their term of office. Candidates for offices of council member to be elected by districts shall have, and districts is wards, okay, shall have resided in their respective districts for at least 1 year immediately preceding the election, and shall maintain such